We're guided by the ethos that theater belongs to everyone. That vision will continue to guide the company, and that this community here in New Haven and beyond will embrace that vision.
What would you want Jacob Padrón's legacy to be?
I ran into someone and I shared with them what I do. And if that community member said, that's my theater, that's where I see my stories, I will have then known that we have arrived. When we talk about the American theater, we need to make sure that Latino stories are a part of that conversation, that a Latino story is an American story. We have to make more space. And so what the Soul Project tries to do is to celebrate our community, amplify those writers, and find partners for them to make shows in New York, off-Broadway. There is always room for you because you bring a perspective that no one else can bring, and you have to keep moving towards the thing that scares you the most.
The Real Roots and Resilience podcast is brought to you by Modern Origins.
All right, so in case you're wondering, the clean and chemical-free candles we only carry in our studio, they are from one of our proud sponsors, Modern Origins. When was the last time you truly paused? Not to scroll or plan, but just to breathe. At Modern Origins, they truly believe small rituals can make a big difference for your mind and your spirit. The handcrafted intention candles, bath soaks, and wax melts are made with clean ingredients, essential oils, and crystals designed to help you reconnect, release stress, and create moments of calm in your day. They're absolutely perfect for soaking in the bathtub after a trying day, having a quiet moment in meditation, journaling through a breakthrough, and even while watching our podcast. Modern Origins helps you turn self-care into something sacred. Visit modernoriginsus.com to build your ritual and get 15% off your first order with code CALM15. That's CALM15. modernoriginsus.com, because your healing deserves intention. Welcome back to the Real Roots and Resilience podcast. Today we're going to be talking with Jacob G. Padrón, an accomplished theater director, producer, and cultural leader whose work has transformed how communities experience storytelling. As a founder of the Soul Project and the former artistic director of the Long Wharf Theater in New Haven, Connecticut, Jacob has dedicated his career to creating spaces where culture, identity, and belonging take center stage. But this conversation isn't just about theater. Today we're exploring ancestry, spirituality, identity, leadership, and the invisible ways our ancestors continue to shape who we are. We'll talk about honoring those who came before us, finding purpose through community, the relationship between memory and healing, and why legacy isn't something we leave behind. It's something we live every day. Whether you're an artist, a leader, or simply someone searching for a deeper understanding of where you come from and where you're going, this conversation offers a soulful perspective. And now it is a pleasure to welcome to the Real Roots and Resilience podcast, Jacob G. Padrón.
Welcome to the Real Roots and Resilience podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
So excited that you're here.
Thank you.
We usually ask like similar questions to all our guests.
Okay.
I want to know before we start.
Okay.
We are starting. What ancestor are you bringing with you right now? Who do you want to be in this space with you right now?
I think so when you asked that question, the first person who came to mind was my grandmother, who passed 3 days before I got married last year.
Oh.
Yes, in January. And so I think about that moment in my life as when we talk about sort of how two things can live side by side. So I was holding the deep grief of that moment with the great joy of what my life was going to be as I, got married and started building my life with, my husband. And so she's with me like every day. And I think she's really with me as I transition out of this job, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But so much of my life was really shaped, I think, by her and by the values that she instilled in me. When I was in high school, I lived with her. I lived with my grandparents. My grandfather also just passed, but yeah, she was just a very special woman, and really, I think instilled like a lot of important values. The other two women that I always want to name when I'm given the opportunity is Diane Rodriguez and Lisa Garcia Quiros. They were two Latinas committed to amplifying the voices of Latino artists, specifically in film, theater, television, and they were my mentors. And they passed. And so I often say that the work that I do now as a theater producer and director is to continue their legacy. And so when I'm in a space like this, when I'm given the blessing of being in community with fellow travelers, I always say that I'd like to speak their name.
I love that.
Thank you. And Guadalupe. Yeah, Guadalupe. Lupe Juarez.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Lift up those names, and we are so grateful for the women who continue to keep on keeping on, even when the world doesn't give them something to work with, but somehow they make a way out of nowhere and do it looking good.
Yes. Amen.
Such strength and resilience.
Yes.
I was going to ask you, that's a great segue into a question of how has your grandparents that you lovingly described and talked about, how have they shaped your identity, like things that you've observed through them?
Yes. I think that the thing that immediately comes to mind is to really celebrate and center and honor my culture, in terms of like being like a proud Latino, like being a Chicano, being like a Mexican American. When you walked into my grandparents' house, you knew you were in the home of a Mexican grandparents. You know what I mean? My grandmother, she would make the homemade tortillas. She would have the pot of beans cooking on the stove. The first thing that my grandfather would always ask when any grandchild would walk into the kitchen, are you hungry? Yeah. What do you need? It was, and so the sense of place, the sense of culture, the sense of like community, really, I think it hit me hard as a kid. Yeah. And I think that really, stayed with me. And so I think when I walk into a space, and especially when I think about my work, I feel like I really lead with that. I lead with I love being Latino, and I think so much of that is certainly from my parents and my tias, but I think it started with my grandparents and specifically my grandmother. Yeah.
Wow. So. It's amazing.
I know, right? Grandma, I call her Grams. I was like, she's like with me. She's with me all the time. And I think like, the fact that she passed right before I got married, I was like, oh gosh, I wish she could be here to sort of see how, to enjoy this really kind of joyful moment in my life, in my journey. But I have to remember that she was there and she continues to journey with me. And the number of times where I have to just, like, if I'm facing a difficult moment, whether it be at work or whatever it is, just taking that moment to pause and to ask I call her name and to ask for help. Grandma, what should I do? Guide me, give me a sign. And without fail, she shows up. Wow. And so I think I'm talking to her a lot right now because I am preparing for the next chapter. I've been the artistic director of Long Wharf Theater, here in New Haven for almost 8 years. Wow. And it's been quite the journey, quite the evolution, and because of who's in this body leading this institution, there have been a lot of twists and turns. But I think it's in those moments of struggle and in the moments of celebration that we call on our ancestors. And I know that I'm able to even sit in this position and have this conversation with you and have the blessing of leading this company because of my ancestors, because of the sacrifices that they made, because of the way that they opened doors and charted paths. And so it's never lost on me that I truly, truly stand on the shoulders of giants. And that's also why, going back to why I always have to say Diane Rodriguez, Lisa Garcia Quiros, they are with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that gave me goosebumps, and that's making Martine emotional, because that's truly the foundation of our work and inspires us. And it's ironic. I had a conversation with my late mother, and I was like, can please throw somebody who has similar interests, someone who's like spiritual. Let me cross paths with someone, because lately I haven't been seeing that.
Yes.
And I've been a little concerned. So to hear this and to hear that when you call out to your ancestors and you get an answer almost immediately,
yes,
that is very validating. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you for that.
I'm still getting goosebumps. This is crazy.
It's so deep.
Yeah.
It's so deep.
I had a conversation with Dr. William Barb, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and he said the same thing. He's like, we are in a time where we have to call our ancestors.
Yes.
Because he teaches that idea.
Yes.
Kind of was like, Uncle, what do we do?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's also touching, and we were just talking about it. Let's talk about a thing. We're going to get to the theater part again, but let's talk about excellence in the Black and Brown community.
Yes.
And then, you go back to your community, and sometimes they don't understand you in a same way. Oh, you are the director of this. Oh,
yes.
oh,
yes.
Right now.
Yes. Yes.
And you gotta navigate that.
That's right.
Where is home?
That's right.
When I did all this to help my people.
That's right.
And I'm under, under whatever system we're living in right now.
Yes.
Are from a unique perspective that they actually hired us for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's right. Right.
So I'm curious. I'm not going to say
No, I think that I'm so thank you for bringing that into the conversation and for bringing that into the space, because like what I feel like I'm experiencing, and I imagine all of us are experiencing, is that the systems are working exactly as they were designed to work in terms of how they oppress us.
Yep.
And how it makes life really, really hard, especially when we are in positions of leadership and trying to be agents of change and trying to actually make the circle wider for our community. And here's the thing that really kind of messed me up. I knew coming into this job that the gringos, that maybe there was going to be some resistance, that I was going to have to show up in a different way. There's code switching, and there's the kind of level of excellence and the level of scrutiny. You're right, like you sort of expect that. What I didn't expect was that sometimes the resistance and the judgment and the not having the safe space was coming from my own community, was coming from our people.
Well, just talking about that.
I think that, and I think we have to name it. I think we have to name it. We have to start talking about it, so that way we can do something about it.
Yeah.
And we name it not from a place of judgment or a place of, calling people out, but I think that we have to. We have to be able to say, how can we show up differently for each other?
Yeah.
How can we show up differently for each other? Because that's actually how the revolution is going to really happen. That's how we're actually going to make some real meaningful change. And I want my soft landing to be with my people. And so I think that, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about how, I know I'm not perfect. I know there are ways that I'm also showing up and strengthening the very systems that I'm actually trying to dismantle, because we are all indoctrinated. We are all, right? It's the water that we drink. And again, the systems are working exactly as they're designed to work. But if we don't talk about it, then we can't change it. We got to bring these things into the light. And so I'm really grateful that you're naming that as a challenge. So that way we can be better for each other as a Black and Brown community.
I love that.
When we look at what's happening, and we need to kind of stand up for each other, stick up for each other, in ways we can, right? Because we can't fight the same fight.
Right.
But how do we, this crabs in the barrel mentality, I don't know.
We got to bring the self-awareness, and we got to work on healing it, right? Like, how do we heal? Like, this is the issue. We're noticing patterns. What do we do about this? no need to be defensive. Let's start to validate, understand, and come to a point of healing.
Yes.
I think that's what's needed. And leaders like us, this is what we're been called to do.
For a time such
For a time such as this.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Aunt Esther. That's right. Who stewards people on a journey. A journey of redemption, a journey of healing, a journey of the word that's also coming to mind right now is sanctuary. I want sanctuary with my community.
Yeah.
And I think when you're in these jobs, finding sanctuary becomes. I think this goes back to what you were saying. It's like, where's my people? Where can I, that? It's so hard to find that space, but you need it. You need it for preservation and to fill your spirit and to provide inspiration. And so that's what I think I want, that sanctuary. And I want that sanctuary to be with my community. So that way it's a well that I keep going back to. So that is certainly my hope. And I think it's a work in progress because we all are, right? We are all works in progress. Yeah.
And for those of you who are watching us now, there are those of us who are looking for that place of sanctuary where, you don't feel like you fit in. And when God gives you, or when Spirit leads you to that person who is your sanctuary, notice that. A person who is supposed to be your sanctuary, or a space where it's your sanctuary, they don't take from you. You don't feel drained. Just because somebody says they love you doesn't mean that it's true. How does your body feel? Do you feel safe? Because we know we have to fight this world. But then when we come home, you got to also notice, is the company you're keeping in helping you or not? And your body will tell you. So speaking of sanctuary,
the body keeps the score, right?
That's right.
The body keeps the score. Yeah, and also, you're making me think of. I remember I went to. I was at a conference once, and it was with the other young leaders of color, and I remember one of the facilitators said he said he was an older Black elder, and he said, I want to surround myself with nutritious people. And I found that to be really simple, powerful, right? When I am in community with folks, do they fill me up, and do I feel like it's nutritious? And I was oh, that's deep. I was that's simple, but that's deep, and it makes me think about, there was another poet, I'm forgetting if it's, maybe it was Bell Hooks but it was the idea that when I'm in community with folks, it's not necessarily what I say, but I want people to remember how they feel when they're in my presence. And I think about that relative to what you just also said. Yeah.
And I'm going to get off my soapbox. I just think sometimes when you do, a lot of times you change, right? So I just got married too, and I was kind
congratulations,
your hubby, but we can talk about that some other time. But so just got married, and one of the things the pastor said is the person you marry is not going to be the same person in 10 years,
right?
I mean, and that's usually the problem, because sometimes the first person who starts off, you guys start off at one level, right? And then maybe somebody goes and they want to do more for themselves. And, people kind of grow apart, but not only just marriages. I'm talking about family, I'm saying sometimes you want to go back to your people, and we're not speaking the same language, but that's neither here nor there. I went on a tangent. So how is your hubby your sanctuary?
I think I consider my partnership and my husband a part of my community. So when I say I want to find that sanctuary, I want to find that soft landing, I count my marriage as a part of that. And I mean, to keep it real, there is also something about being in partnership with another person of color. You know what I mean? My husband is a Black man, and we talk about how there is something about that in terms of that it's almost like I can't even put words to it, because I think that we're still trying to figure out what it means in our lives. But I think there is a shorthand, there is an understanding, there is a compassion, there is a kind of lived experience that we both bring to our marriage that I think helps us to be better partners. It's like we just see each other, I think, so fully. That being said, I want to be really clear. I also, I am not a Black man, and I think that there are experiences he has in the world, specifically in the United States, that I do not have. And so he teaches me, right? He teaches me, and I have to be open to those lessons, and I have to check myself. I have to think about my social location, my privilege, right? Like I am on that journey. I am doing that work, because what I know is that I want to show up and be the best version of myself for my husband as we make our lives together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So there's like a parallel, like between, because you both are oppressed populations,
yes,
but in different ways, and you both learn from each other. I think that's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But can I just say, I love being married. Like, I love it. I do. I really do. I was actually the meeting that I just came from, she's been a professor at Yale for many, many years. She's been with her husband for 29 years. And I often like to ask couples, especially those that have been together a long time, like, what's the secret? What's in the secret sauce? What do you, and she, said, to laugh, the power of laughter, and that's one of the things Justin does for me. He makes me laugh. I didn't realize how much I value and how important having, sense of humor. How, like, I look forward to, just talking to him every day. I just look forward to being on that journey, because, folks always say, like, oh, marriage is hard. Being in a relationship is hard because it's about how do you think about the other as opposed to how you think about yourself and how you journey together. But I really, I think it is such a blessing, and so it's also not lost on me that I am on a journey with someone, building a life with him, and it's a blessing that I really try not to take for granted. So
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what drew you to theater? Sorry. What drew you to
What drew me? So I hit the theater bug. The theater sort of seeds were planted, I think, relatively early in my life. My story is that I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. I grew up in a town called Gilroy. We're famous for garlic. We're the garlic capital of the world, but here's the great irony of my life is I'm allergic to garlic. Isn't that hilarious? So I know, I feel like that's...
no.
So... I grew up in Gilroy, and very close to Gilroy was a company. It was started by a playwright director. His name was Luis Valdez. And he started a company called El Teatro Campesino, the farm worker theater. So in 1965, he pitched an idea to Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta of a theater formed by farm workers. And so he wanted to use the stage, and in this case, they were making theater in the fields of California. He wanted to use the stage as a catalyst for justice and for connection and for community. His company eventually settled very close to Gilroy. And so when I was a kid, I would go and see the shows. I would perform in the shows. And Luis became and his family became kind of like my theater sort of godfather. I mean, they really took me under their wing, and Teatro Campesino really became a kind of North Star for my life. And so fast forward to 2005, I moved here to graduate, to go to Yale, to go to the School of Drama, and to become a theater producer. And sort of that's, but the Teatro Campesino and the values that were instilled in me, that theater could be a real catalyst, I think started when I was very, very young. And I think that company and those lessons are with me. I think on its best days, I say that theater is social work, theater is justice, theater is community, and those are the values that have animated the work of El Teatro Campesino for 50 plus years. So that's how it started. It started way back when when I went to my first show, I think I was maybe 7 or 8, and my mother and my tias, my grandmother, they were in the shows, so I would see them. I was like, wow, this is so amazing.
They were actors too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how it started.
Okay, so I guess one of the questions I wanted to ask here is, because you know how we do in Black and Brown communities, right? We make things happen.
We do.
So, like in a cornfield, we're gonna build a stage and act. And to me, that's like social justice. So, I'm curious to know about what do you think the relationship between artistry and social justice? How do they coincide, or how
Yeah.
have you
Yeah.
experienced that?
I mean, I think that I think going back to what I was saying earlier, that I think on its best days, theater is social work, and I think the kind of a connection between sort of artistry and justice, or theater and justice. I think what the theater does better than any other kind of better than I think film, TV. Not better, but I think the thing that it's uniquely positioned to do is that it allows you to see different points of view. It allows you to inhabit a world onto itself and to kind of walk in someone else's shoes in the dark, right? If theater, my mentor says that if theater is doing its job, you enter the space as strangers, but that you leave as a community after the story that you took in together. I think what theater also does, as it connects to justice and meaning, is that it allows us to really reveal in our shared humanity. And I think that feels very, very special. I feel like I've committed my life to the theater because it is a big tent. It's a big tent that can hold all of us. I say this all the time, that the stage is big enough to hold all of our stories. And it's in that holding of the different kinds of stories that allows us to actually be more human. And so the fact that that's the invitation, I think every day, I think is such a blessing. And before I became a theater, you'll both love this. Before I became a theater producer, I was a social worker.
Really?
So, yes. So so when I graduated from college, I actually did a program called the Jesuit Volunteer Corps. It's very similar to I went to Loyola Marymount University, which is a Jesuit university in Los Angeles, and it's kind of modeled after the Peace Corps, AmeriCorps, but you pick a ministry, and you do service work. So I did HIV/AIDS work in the South. You can do 2 years. I did 1 year. And during that process, I was applying to get my MSW, or I was maybe marriage and family therapy. I was sort of going down the path, but I also knew that I had a deep love for theater and for storytelling, and because of those seeds that I had mentioned earlier with Teatro Campesino. But I feel like the theater allows me to still take the thing that I love, the things that I love doing with social work, to the thing that I am doing now in terms of storytelling, and how those things kind of are married in my work. Yeah.
I know NYU has a drama therapy.
Do they have a drama therapy program?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's I don't know how diverse it is though.
Okay.
But it'd be interesting, right? Would you ever be interested in something like that?
Maybe something like that.
Eventually?
Maybe down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, my big sister is a marriage and family therapist, so I don't know, having two therapists in the family, that might be
too much.
that might be a lot. But I mean, I think therapy, social work, changed my life. I think everyone should have a good therapist. I think that's so important. So when we also talk about how we want to show up for people, I also think it's you got to do the work here. You got to do the work yourself before you can show up for somebody else.
That's right.
And so I also think when people talk about accountability doesn't actually flow this way. It actually flows this way.
Inside.
And the other thing that I like to say is, when you are self-righteous, there's little room for self-reflection. And so I also think that's something that we have to think about,
How was it at the Long Wharf Theater? What was the experience? I know initially, you showed up.
Yes.
It wasn't, I'm assuming, was it diverse or not necessarily?
I think that it was. I think like most regional theaters in the United States, it was primarily a white in terms of the kinds of stories it was presenting and the audience. We had rented a facility over by Highway 91, 95 in a food terminal. We rented this space that was converted into a theater. It had 2 theaters there actually. We were there for about 57 years.
Wow.
Then COVID happened, and we had to make a decision about really the future of the company. The building was not in great shape. The rents were rising. Audiences were declining.
Okay.
And we felt like if there was ever a moment to be brave, to be courageous, to think about, again, how can we make that tent, big enough to hold all of us? How can we widen the circle? Rather than folks coming to us, maybe we let go of the building and now bring theater to the people and allow the entire city and the entire region to be our stage. If we say that the theater belongs to this community, let's go to the community and actually make theater with and for them and by them. And so I think by making that leap, which no other regional theater in this country has done, it has changed our relationship to New Haven and to the region, and it actually has changed what our audience looks like.
Wow.
So that's been really gratifying, powerful, but challenging, because I think the resistance to change is a real thing in this community. I think, when you've made theater in a space that people have been coming to for decades, when you say they feel like you're taking something away from them, right? You're changing, you're changing, or you're tarnishing the legacy, or you don't understand the history. And what I say over and over and over again is no. The future of Longworth Theater is being built because of that legacy in many ways, right? The work that you all did, I am so grateful for the support you gave Longworth Theater. And Longworth can still be a place for you. We're not trying to take anything away. We're just trying to add. We're trying to create more space.
And not replace.
We're not trying to replace. We're trying to add more. And because we're guided by the ethos that theater belongs to everyone. There is room for everyone. And so that, I think, continues to be the work of the company. And I hope as I transition, that will continue to guide that vision of theater for everyone will continue to guide the company, and that this community here in New Haven and beyond will embrace that vision and really wrap their arms around it, so that way the organization can be around for another 60 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What would you want Jacob Padrón's legacy to be?
I remember when I was interviewing for the job, one of the questions that a board member asked me was like, how would you know you've been successful in this job? You're 6 months in, or a year in, or maybe in this case when I was exiting. And I remember the story that I gave, and I think it's the story that I still have now, is that at the end of the day, if I was in community, say I was at a park, or at the farmer's market, or at a community celebration on the green, Black Wall Street, or Puerto Ricans United's parade, and I ran into someone and I shared with them what I do, that I work at Longworth Theater. If that community member said, that's my theater, that's where I see my stories, I will have then known that we have arrived, that if I have that experience, and I hope I do, that will feel like a legacy, is one to be proud of, is my deep hope. Yeah.
What productions at Longworth were you most proud of?
Oh, that's so hard, because as a theater producer, one of the honors that you have as the theater producer, artistic director, is that you pick the shows. That is your responsibility, and you have to steward those shows and support those artists and create the conditions that allow artists to feel that they can do their best work. And so, you love all the shows for different reasons.
I was going to say, he's proud of all of them.
I'm proud of all of them.
However.
Truly. I am really, I think the show that the two of you saw, the show that we just did recently that closed a few months ago, August Wilson's Gem of the Ocean, which we did at the Canal Dock Boathouse. We transformed that space. We'd previously been in that space. We did Arthur Miller's A View from the Bridge. But the way the space, the way the architecture architecture, the way that, we were, on the water, the fact that the Amistad had actually docked there.
It's beautiful.
Like, and we were telling a story about Black ancestors and what gets passed down, and and the fact that August Wilson, the legendary August Wilson, had this amazing relationship to our city, where 6 of his 10 plays premiered right here in New Haven. Like, all of that history, all that was sort of wrapped up in that space. And so you could feel that. You could feel the ancestors with us. You could feel the power of the performances. You could feel the way New Haven, I think, was wrapping their arms around that production. And I was so proud. I was proud of the performances. I was proud of the director. And the other thing that was also very special was that it was like, it felt really homegrown, because, you had people who have made New Haven their home that were in the cast, who did the choreography. I mean, Cheyenne Barboza, the director, is from here, is from Waterbury. So that felt like it was kind of like a full circle moment. And it felt like that production reflected the values that I tried to bring to my work at Long Wharf. And it felt like we were finally kind of arriving after 8 years of really hard work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. It's beautiful. I was going to ask what was next.
So I'm like, I want to follow you. Find you.
So because I got married, I moved back to the city. So I live in the Bronx. The boogie down Bronx. Okay. I love it. So I'm commuting to New Haven, which is, Metro North, like
a nightmare.
Oh my goodness. But I think so one of the things that I actually, in addition to my work at Long Wharf and in addition to my commuting back and forth, is that I started a theater initiative actually back in the city, called the Soul Project.
Yeah.
And the Soul Project, the Sun, SOL, the Sun Project is a theater initiative that I started with other theater makers back in 2016. We celebrate 10 years this year. And it's a theater initiative dedicated to amplifying the voices of Latinx playwrights. To really, when we talk about the American theater, we need to make sure that Latino stories are a part of that conversation, that a Latino story is an American story. Yes. And so we have to make more space. And so what the Soul Project tries to do is to celebrate our community, amplify those writers, and find partners for them to make shows in New York, off Broadway, and really across the country. So my hope is that without having the very full-time job of running Long Wharf Theater as artistic director, that I'll be able to dedicate a little more time to that. I also am a director, and so I hope that I'll be able to commit more time to that practice of being an artist. Being an artist is something that I really want to do. I think I've always been afraid to even say that. I think I've always been more comfortable saying, like, I'm a theater producer or I'm an administrator. But I think being a good theater producer also means being a good artist.
Yeah.
Like to be a working artist is only going to help inform that producing practice. And like I want to be able to
acting, like doing that.
No, like directing.
Or directing.
Just directing.
Okay.
Yeah, like directing, and because that's like a very. That's a very specific sort of artistry, where you have to,
like a visionary.
Yeah, you have to have the vision for the production, and you have to work with the actors and work with the design team, and you really sort of steward the whole thing from start to finish.
Be
from
a
the
social
first
worker.
Yes, and that's the thing. I think in many ways, directing is a lot of just social work, facilitation, managing lots of different personalities, but you're guiding everyone towards a singular vision. And it is when I have done it, it's when I have felt most alive. Wow. When I'm in those rehearsal rooms, when I'm talking to a director or when I'm talking to a designer, and and there's the feeling of being with an audience as they take in the thing that you've all made together. That's the other thing that I love about the theater is it is not a singular thing. It is you have to do it in community. Yeah. You do it with other humans. And I want to preserve that.
We were just talking about how, we are extennials in a way, right? for those of us, because we grew up in a time where hip hop, we were watching hip hop.
Yes.
Table. We had the record. We had
Yes.
the tape.
The
We had the
CDs.
CDs.
the MP3.
Yes.
The this, the that, right? So, but then, now I think artistry feels like I think technology kind of democratizes you, getting your stuff out there.
Yes.
What do you say to people who had an artistic dream, but they're feeling like they're too old, or is there ever a limit of when you can start? Because it
Never.
sounds like you're kind of rebranding.
Never. Yes.
Or reinventing yourself.
I feel like, yes,
constantly.
I feel like, I'm saying this to you because it's advice I have to listen to myself, which is it is never too late. That there is always room for you. And I think that maybe to go back to how this conversation started about how we show up for each other and how we support each other, the word that is coming to mind is abundance. If we as a Black and Brown community need to have an abundant mindset, especially as it relates to our dreams. So when I tell myself the story that, Jacob, like, there are already so many talented directors in New York, what can you add to the canon? Or do you have the gifts? Do you have the chops? Do you have the experience? Is there room for me? And what I have to say to myself and what I have to say to that artist who may be thinking I might be too old or my time has passed is no, there is always room for you.
That's right.
There is always room for you because you bring a perspective that no one else can bring, and you have to keep moving towards the thing that scares you the most. And that's the thing that I'm trying to with directing. It's like, I think the reason why I haven't embraced it is because I've been afraid of it, and I don't want to be afraid of it because it is the thing that gives me so much joy. So there is room for you, whoever's watching this. Know there is room for you, and I expect to see your TV show, your mixtape, your visual piece, if you're a visual artist, whatever it is, your podcast, whatever it is that your voice is a singular voice, and it is never too late.
Punto final.
Thank you.
Because my friend used to say, she's Panamanian, she's like, punto final.
Oh, yes. That's it. Yes, exactly. I love it. Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah.
So where can people find you?
Yeah.
Yes. So I am trying to grow, that Instagram. Although I have such a complicated, I'm sure we all do, right, to social media, because I'm trying to, one of the things I've been saying to myself is more dream time and less screen time.
Yeah.
So, but I would love if folks want to follow me, it's JGP, as in Paul, _39.
Okay.
That's my handle at Instagram. And then just Jacob Padrón on Facebook. I'm going to try to work on a website once I get through this job and have a little more free time on my hands. But yeah.
Lovely.
So. Okay, good. Yeah. I would love it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. This is wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was really such an honor. And I love that you all are doing this. And
Thank you.
and I will amplify your work, because let's keep
you.
amplifying each other.
My grandmother's courage is locked in my bones. My grandfather's wisdom in all of my tones. I'm not just a person, I'm a lineage of life.